Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a hormone that's, well, really central to women's health, progesterone.
Hmm.
But it's so often misunderstood, right?
Yeah.
We had a listener send in a bunch of sources asking about, the basics, the benefits, the confusion around it,
Yeah.
and especially why micronized progesterone seems to be so important. So our mission today, let's try to cut through some of that noise.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating, maybe even a bit alarming, is how often this key difference gets missed.
What difference is that?
The difference between natural micronized progesterone and the synthetic versions called progestins, they are absolutely not the same thing.
Okay, so not interchangeable at all, even though the names sound similar.
Not at all. Our sources make it crystal clear. They have fundamentally different effects on the body. It's a really critical distinction.
Right. So let's talk about those synthetic versions first. Like Provera is one
Yeah.
people might know. Why is understanding them so important?
Exactly. Provera is a common example. So these synthetic progestins, they're man-made. They try to mimic some actions of our natural progesterone, but only some.
Okay.
And because their chemical structure is different, the outcomes in the body are, well, vastly different. We see links to side effects people really don't want: fluid retention, headaches, quite significant mood disturbances sometimes.
That doesn't sound good.
No. And more concerning, they can actually lower your HDL cholesterol. That's the good kind you want for heart protection. And if we zoom out, look at the bigger picture. I mean, the big studies, particularly the Women's Health Initiative, the WHI trial, they gave us some really stark warnings.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that one.
Those trials showed synthetic progestins, especially when paired with estrogen, significantly bump up the risk for serious cardiovascular problems.
Like what kind of problem?
We're talking blood clots, heart attacks, strokes. The data was pretty clear. The relative risk jumped to about 2.1 with progestin plus estrogen, compared to maybe 1.3 for estrogen alone. So it more than doubled the risk compared to just estrogen, which itself wasn't risk-free.
Wow, doubled. That's significant.
It is, and some sources suggest how this happens: potential damage to the blood vessel lining, what we call endothelial disruption, even things like plaque rupture in the brain or heart.
Yikes.
Yeah. And there's more. They might even interfere with your body's own progesterone receptors, kind of turning down the volume on natural progesterone's benefits, and potentially undermining some of estrogen's protective effects too, possibly, some studies suggest, increasing certain cancer risks.
Okay, that paints a really concerning picture for the synthetics. It's such a sharp contrast, especially thinking how common they've been.
Mm-hmm.
So if synthetics carry these serious risks, what about the natural micronized form? Is it really a different story?
It absolutely is. And that's the key point, right? It makes you wonder why there's this sort of generalized fear around progesterone when science really differentiates.
Right.
Despite some broad warnings you might read, all the studies looking specifically at micronized progesterone, the natural form, often from plants, processed so we absorb it better, indicate it's safe when it comes to thrombotic risk.
So no increased risk of those clots, heart attacks, strokes, like with the synthetics.
Exactly. It doesn't show that same pattern at all. In fact, the benefits are pretty significant and cover a lot of ground.
Okay, that distinction is huge. It really changes the conversation. Tell us more about those benefits of natural micronized progesterone.
Well, for starters, there's some really compelling evidence about breast cancer. An inverse association, meaning higher natural progesterone levels seem linked to a lower risk.
Lower risk are...
And even more than that, natural progesterone can actually be apoptotic, meaning it can trigger programmed cell death in breast cancer cells. That's a pretty powerful protective action.
Definitely. What else?
For women going through perimenopause, it can be a real game changer. High-dose oral micronized progesterone is very effective for managing those disruptive symptoms. The hot flashes, night sweats, feeling hot then cold.
The temperature dysregulation, yeah.
Exactly. And also the irregular, heavy bleeding that so many women experience during that time.
That alone would be a huge relief for many.
Absolutely. And beyond just symptoms, it actively promotes bone health. It helps stimulate the cells that build new bone.
Good for preventing osteoporosis later on.
Precisely. And then there's sleep. Because it has these calming neurosteroid properties, it can be used therapeutically just to help improve sleep quality.
So quite a range of benefits then.
A very wide range. And, a large body of evidence now really points towards combining estrogen with oral micronized progesterone as being the optimal way forward for long-term hormone replacement therapy.
Optimal in terms of safety and effectiveness.
Yes. It addresses issues like bleeding disorders, can help prevent premature labor in specific situations, and does all this while maintaining a much better safety profile compared to those older synthetic progestin regimens, especially regarding cardiovascular and cancer risks.
That really does reshape how we should think about progesterone. It underscores just how critical that one distinction, synthetic versus natural micronized, actually is. It changes almost everything.
It really does. It highlights the absolute need for precise language, precise understanding, and making informed choices when it comes to our health.
So for you, our listener, maybe a final thought to leave you with. How many other vital pieces of health information might hinge on just one word, one specific type, a distinction like this that's often overlooked? It really makes you wonder what else we might be missing just by not knowing the right question to ask or the right word to listen for.